G'day guys, Mr. Sparkle here. I've been asked by the good doctor to see if we can help some new folks out with choosing a tail shaft uni combo for their new sim builds. As I was going through it, and as you guys will go through the doctor's tutorial series also, you will notice that when you get to his section on I think it's tutorial 15 and 16, around there, you'll see his massive tractor uni. Thing's awesome, but most of us are not going to be able to get our hands on something like that. So you're probably going to end up doing what I did and going out and finding a car uni or car tail shaft with a uni, and spending various amounts of money. I mean, I was lucky enough to get this is a BMW E36 tail shaft. Scored it for 20 bucks off Facebook. Thought I was in business, alright, but it's not necessarily the case, right? Because the movement on this isn't all that good. This is the best way, still fairly limited, and the other way is even worse. It's just not enough, which is a shame, because the footprint, will easily fit onto your plate, which is really what you want to try and achieve. You want to really bolt it to the plate so you'll end up on the trolley side, Then you can simply run up, cut the tail shaft at 215 mils from the top of the plate, and then weld your other plate on for a finishing height of 220 mils. That's what you're aiming for. Long story short, I realised that I wasn't really going to be satisfied with that, which started the process of, well, what do I buy? Do I just run around and around and around, aimlessly going to wreckers? Because this is a pretty technical thing we're doing, right? And I mean, you could probably use that. You just, I just wanted something probably a bit more exciting. But yeah, I found out pretty quick that I wasn't going to be satisfied with something with that limited amount of movement. I mean, you could use it, it's just that I wanted something better than that. So this is what I have learnt on this journey about this uni tail shaft selection. You're pretty much going to waste your time if you try and find a tail shaft from a low car, like the E36, a BMW, a 4-cylinder even. Something that's reasonably small engined. Even if it's fast, it's irrelevant. It's probably more to do with how low this thing is to the ground, Most of the tail shafts and unis are going to be designed, there's not a lot of give in them because they don't need to be, You're much better off trying to find something that comes off of maybe off a transaxle, off a 4x4, or maybe something off a ute even, rear wheel drive ute, something along those lines, and you are after the side with the bolts, You're not really interested in the spline side. There's not really much you can do with that. Ideally, you'd like to be able to get, ideally you would like to get something that has a good range of movement that can fit on the plate. I don't know if that's going to be specifically achievable. That remains to be seen. It's possible, but the plate, it's not that big, so I'll tell you what I ended up finding. It's going to be mounted a slightly different way, but it does have a little bit of cred. This one's already cut. I'm going to show you guys what I did to cut this thing pretty straight. This is a transaxle, it's off I don't know if you can read it, but it's SAIC motors, 4x4 front prop shaft assembly, right? That's what it says on it, Now, there's actually, you could actually get a bit of a bonus out of this thing, to be honest. This is my cut. Just take that down. This is the spline that comes out of there. Okay, so that part, you know, you can fill it up with beer and cheers your mates with it. You know what I'm saying? But you're also left with another piece of the puzzle there as well. The only thing with this is pretty much has a pretty kick-ass solid metal gear in there, so you probably wouldn't want to be cutting it, but hey, you know, I'm sure some of you guys are pretty, you know, pretty keen to do crazy shit. If you mess up the first one, you've always got the second one, I suppose, to fall back on. Pros of this thing, it's a relatively late model. You can get this for 2021, so the uni is actually really, really good, and the travel on this thing is awesome. Look at this thing go. Got some travel, you know. It's a pretty good lean angle on that. Okay. So that's what I did. The downside of this, however, is the plate, or the base of the flange of that. Okay. Doesn't really like my plate very much at all. Okay. This doesn't fit onto my plate. I could probably do some modifications, etc, etc, etc. But as I talked to the doctor about that this morning, he simply said, why don't you just flip it around and we'll just end up welding that to there, and we'll do it that way instead. Alright? Nothing wrong with that. It just has to be cut pretty straight, man. You can't have too much room for error there. I don't have a saw. I don't have a metal cutting saw, so all my stuff's been cut with a grinder. Now to get this process underway, I will show you guys what I did. So the way that I cut this, alright, was I got my laser level, my Bunnings Ozito laser level. Just out of reference, guys, you can get the headstock, so the laser part, and you can get an attachment, not the tripod. This is a little bit more expensive. This one was about $100 all up, I think. But you can get one that's just the actual laser itself, and you can get like a connection on the base of it, and that connection can like screw onto like anything else. It could screw onto the side of a ladder, and you could so if you don't necessarily need the tripod, you can get just the headstock part of it as well. This also is the same universal fitting as a camera tripod. So if you already have a camera tripod, maybe just get the headstock, because that actually screws in underneath just like a camera would. All right, just with that knob right there. It's important to have them leveled. Okay, they have a little bubble level there so you can get them square. So all I did at the end of the day was I got my level. Is take a measurement of your base. My base was 6mm on the flange. So now I can stick that on there minus the 6mm from there, right? So what you're going for, essentially, is a distance from the plate, top of the plate, to the cutoff here is going to be 215mm, because you need to weld another plate on top of that after you cut it. So your finishing will be 220mm to the top of the plate. So my final measurement was 209mm. That's where I needed to make the cut, as you can see, just there. Okay. So 209mm plus the 6mm base equals 215mm. So then it was just a question of raising my tripod accordingly. So the laser level would get up to that 209mm, like so, right there. And that is where I put the laser to get the final mark, left the laser there, and then I just have to put this camera down somehow, so I need two hands. Move the laser level out of the way, and so I can put it on this side there. There we go. So there's, just move it out of the way. Because this wasn't cut originally, it was easy for me to handle, right? So you're going to have to put up with this, but the process is the same. And what I did, I grabbed a docket from Bunnings. Any docket will do. Actually, now that hang on. Let me reposition this. Alright. Looks a bit better, I think. You can see it. Alright. Awesome. So what I did then is I got a piece of docket paper, like so. Wrapped it around that laser line. Okay. So you've pretty much made the mark right there. Now this was still a full piece, obviously, so I was able to just pick that up. Then I've got my tape, and I basically taped around that so it would keep the label on. You can get a little bit of water and just dab the label like so, and it'll actually stick there. I actually just put a little bit of nature's grease, a little bit of spit on there to do it the first time, and it tacked there straight away. But yeah, just wet it a little bit so it sticks on, it won't come off then. Then grab your tape, wrap your tape around it a couple of times up to the metal so it actually holds the docket paper in place, right? And then you'll end up with something like this. Okay, so that's what you end up with. Okay, now you can take that down, put it in your vise, or get some grips. I actually use these quick grips by Irwin, guys, just as a reference. These are absolutely awesome, these things. I've had them for about 10 years. They just don't die, you know. Very handy to have indeed. I usually just use those. I clamp them to the edge of the table. I was using a Flexibit. I don't have a metal saw to cut these things absolutely perfectly, so I've had to use a grinder. I find these to do the fine cuts probably the best. That's what it is. Okay, 100. Mine's a 115mm. I've only got a little toy, but it does work pretty good. The cut-off wheels, they're not too bad. For what you pay, for what you get out of them, they're not bad. Pretty thin, cuts pretty quick. Cut a very nice cut. So that's what you'll end up with. Okay. So once that's said and done, and you've cut, you'll end up with that piece. Okay. There's your bad boy. That's what's left. Now what you want to do with that, if you have a tail shaft that's black, like I did, you want to just grind off. I'll do that now actually. We're going to grind that off because unless you have a white marker, which probably most of you do. I actually don't for some stupid reason, but anyway. Can't mark it black because we're going to have to measure the distances across here and here, and we're going to have to mark these to get our centers, right? And we're going to use our laser again for that process as well. So let me just give these a quick grind and we'll come back. Alright, so I've given that a bit of a grind. I sort of know where they are already, so I've just grinded the areas where I need to do. I already know where those halfway points are. Also give that a little bit of a bevel too, guys, like the doctor always says, because we're going to be turning that on the plate to weld it. So you want to get a little bit of area down in there where you can get that flooded with some weld. Okay? So here we are. Now, don't really have to overcomplicate this part, which I did for quite some time. I was using lasers and this, that, and the next thing. At the end of the day, guys, you really just want to take your measurement, okay, from the outer to the outer. This is actually a 62mm. If you really want to know, you can get your digital calipers and do a measurement on the outside. But you know, 62, well, we all know 62, 31 is a halfway mark. So, you know, work it out mark your halfway points. All right, turn that around the other way. Mark your halfway points on both sides, 31, 31, 31, 31. I'll do that now. Put a mark, black texture on each area, because then we'll use our laser to run that all the way down to our flange part here. All right, and then we'll be able to align that onto the plate where, I think it's either tutorial 15 or 16 on the doctor's videos where we're marking these plates. And we had that 40mm line there as well from the end, which indicates the middle of those, the top plate section. So we can have, you have to mount that top plate. You have to mount this, you have to mount this section right in the center of the two rods, okay, which is where that 40mm mark is, because it's pretty much going to create some balance there in doing that. That's why we do that. So you've got the 40mm, I think it's a 40mm line. Shit, should just measure that. Yeah, 40mm. My memory's okay. Then the halfway point. So we're going to basically take our marks and we're going to measure and mark all those up. So I'll mark them up and then I'll show you guys where we're at. So using my laser again, it's a pretty valuable tool. There's the 31 mark. Okay. Sorry guys, let me get in there. Alright. I can't get too close because then I end up cutting the laser, but there's the 31. So where that laser is going across there, you can mark your lines. Okay. So I spun it around and did it on both sides, guys. So got that line sorted out and the 31mm mark. Alright. Got my little marks on every side of it. Alright. So now, get rid of this laser. Boom. I do recommend getting one of those lasers, guys, because you're going to end up with a lot of alignment situations where you may have to use that on the sim itself, aligning parts up together and stuff like that. So I think that's a great idea. So now that we've got that marked, okay, all right, we can spin it around, okay. And there's a question now of aligning the base up. Okay, there's the halfway point. You're going to find you want to be able to do it with all of the points. So there's the 40mm mark. Alright, right there. See if I can pop this up a bit and make it a bit easier. Yeah, sounds a bit better. Okay. So there's one mark there. That one's not on, so we'll just simply spin that around. Keep aligning it until we have what we need. That one's so good. There we go. That one's just on now as well. So take your time, get all of those where they need to be. Alright, and then, and only then, you can go ahead and weld this bad boy in to place. And you will be exactly on the halfway point by doing that, okay? Just to check it, we should see, if I line the laser up, we should see the laser from there run all the way. It'll run up through the halfway point of that. So we'll put that on now, and there we go. Doesn't really get much better than that, does it? And whoa, one sec. Like so. It's just a lot easier, I think, at the end of the day, guys. You could manually do all this, I guess, but for a less than $100 laser, which you'll get multiple uses out of, I think it's a good idea to grab one, to be honest. So I'm going to weld that up, guys, and yeah, finish up. Alright guys, that is welded up. Oh, canola spray just took a hit. Took one for the team. Keep your aerosols away from your welding area. That's a good doctor suggested. Alright, so yeah, that's pretty much done. With my plate, you'll see a little hole at the front there. Now what happened, I actually drilled two 10 mils through this as well, at the top plate, just like you do when you the plug weld ones on the plate on the trolley. When you put those, tack those two plates together, I didn't realise you weren't supposed to do two 10 mil holes as well, so that was a mistake on my part, but that's okay. It just leaves a couple of small areas where I couldn't weld two 10 mil circles. I don't think that's going to matter too much. There's a lot of good weld on this. Just slightly tapped it there, so yeah, I did just a little bit. So what I will do is just give that a little bit of a small knock. There we go, put that back where it needs to be. Okay, move the level back here again. Okay, so we are at, I'll have to move it that way like we had it before. I don't have enough room on my bench, mate. We still level, just a little bit out again, so take your time leveling this thing, man. Be worth it. That's beautiful, mate. Straight up the halfway line, our old mark. Make sure the plates, be a good idea actually guys to bolt these plates in first before you do this. So I'm just showing you the process. I'll make sure I go back and do all this properly. And there we are again. Got our line, center line, going all the way up. Got that mark up the top again. We can mark the flange again here. Bang. Boom. Yum. Yum, 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 yum. How good is that? Just carry on and do that, all four sides. And you've got a reference point where that is. Get your plate built and do exactly the same thing this side. You'll have your marks there where you need it to go. And Bob's your uncle. If you'd like me to film this bit for you when I do it later, let me know. Otherwise, just continue over to tutorial 18. Tutorial 16, I beg your pardon. And you should be able to pick up on all of this anyway. This is just slightly different because it's a little bit bigger. So I thought I'll just let you guys know exactly what I'm doing there. So thanks for watching, guys. Any questions, throw them up on the Discord. Hey guys, I just want to shoot a quick amendment video to my last video that I posted about mounting the uni on the trolley cage. It's important, and I ran into a problem later. I was slightly twisted actually because my trolley carriage wasn't actually on. It was on the table, and even though I had everything level, that didn't really make any difference at the end of the day because my trolley carriage wasn't square. So follow what I did, that's fine. The lasers work really well, all that stuff was fine, but make sure you mount it on your trolley carriage first. I had to cut all this off today, so it's an hour of time spent fixing all that up. But you know, put it on your trolley carriage, level your spine and everything up, okay, make sure it's all good. That way you know where you're mounting it or where you're welding it to is exactly where it needs to be in terms of being square for the trolley carriage. And then when you weld this in, obviously that will, you know, be as square as the trolley carriage is as well. So you won't, you know, welding it off onto the level bench doesn't necessarily mean you've got your trolley square at all. So that was my problem. I thought I'd quickly shoot a quick amendment video just to let you guys know. And I'll insert this in to the video, so you'll see a split scene somewhere explaining all this, and then I'll repost it. Thanks guys, take it easy, bye for now.